The lights of the city shimmered against the dark curtain of the night, painting silver reflections across the rain-soaked pavement. It was one of those nights when memories become heavier than the air itself, the kind of night where destinies collide, hearts remember, and bonds that once seemed fragile prove to be unbreakable. For Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo, their story wasn't written in ink. It was written in fire, laughter, silence, and trust that refused to die even when the world around them turned chaotic. It all began long before fame, before flashing cameras and screaming fans. Two souls chasing dreams on parallel roads, unaware that destiny was patiently weaving their names together like threads in an endless tapestry. When the Untamed came into their lives, it wasn't just a drama. It was the spark that would redefine who they were, both as artists and as men. Xiao Zhan, calm yet passionate, carried the quiet strength of someone who had seen storms and survived them. Wang Yibo, younger but fiercely determined, moved like lightning, sharp, unpredictable, yet filled with life. When they met on set, their energies clashed at first. Fire meeting water, thunder meeting calm. The first day of filming was electric. Xiao Zhan, dressed as Wei Wuxian, stood beneath the vast expanse of a misty mountain, his dark robe flowing in the wind. Beside him, Wang Yibo Lan Wangji appeared with an elegance that could silence chaos itself. Their eyes met across the distance, and though the scene required no words, an unspoken current pulsed between them. The crew went still, watching the chemistry unfold, raw, magnetic, and effortless. As the days turned into weeks, that spark became something else, something deeper. Between takes, they would share quiet conversations, teasing each other about small mistakes, laughing over improvised lines. Xiao Zhan would offer Yibo snacks during breaks. Yibo would teach Xiao Zhan a few dance steps when boredom struck. It was innocence wrapped in trust, friendship growing roots beneath the noise of fame. But fame, as they would soon learn, is a double-edged sword. After the Untamed became a global sensation, the attention was overwhelming. Fans around the world adored them, shipping them, analyzing every glance, every smile, every moment they shared. But with admiration came pressure. The media dissected their friendship, rumors spiraled, and shadows of misunderstanding began to creep in. There were moments when silence replaced laughter, days when the world seemed intent on tearing them apart. Yet, beneath it all, there was a quiet promise neither of them spoke out loud. No matter what happens, we don't let go. It was during one of their lowest moments that the bond proved itself unbreakable. Cold night in Beijing. Xiao Zhan was exhausted, mentally drained from endless headlines that painted him as something he wasn't. He sat in his car, city lights blurring through his tears. His phone buzzed. A simple message from Wang Yibo appeared on the screen. "You don't need to fight alone. Let's ride it out together." It wasn't poetic. It wasn't long. But it was enough. Enough to remind Xiao Zhan that some connections don't fade with distance or silence. Later that week, Yibo showed up at Xiao Zhan's studio unannounced, 2 cups of coffee in hand and his signature smirk on his face. He didn't say much, just sat beside him, scrolling through memes, pretending everything was normal. But in that ordinary moment lay something extraordinary, a friendship that didn't need grand gestures to prove its worth. Behind the scenes, when the world wasn't watching, they were each other's quiet strength. Xiao Zhan supported Yibo during his motorcycle races, cheering him on quietly in the stands, away from cameras. Yibo, though not vocal about emotions, would show up at Xiao Zhan's art exhibits or concerts, his presence speaking louder than any words. Their friendship evolved, it matured. They didn't need daily calls or constant photos to keep it alive. It became like an invisible thread, stretching across distance and time, yet never breaking. One of the most unforgettable moments came during an award show. The crowd was loud, the lights blinding. Xiao Zhan, dressed in a sleek black suit, took the stage to present an award. As he turned to read the winner's name, his lips curved into a smile. It was Wang Yibo. The audience erupted. Cameras flashed. For a brief second, their eyes met across the room, a silent conversation passing between them. Xiao Zhan handed him the trophy with a knowing look, and Yibo, trying to suppress his grin, gave a small nod. It was professional, polite. But the air around them shimmered with something unspoken: respect, pride, and a bond that time hadn't managed to erode. After the ceremony, in a quiet backstage corridor away from reporters, they bumped fists like old friends. "You did great," Xiao Zhan said. Yibo smirked. "You didn't look bad yourself." No cameras, no audience. Just two souls reminding each other that no matter how loud the world gets, their connection remains silent, sacred, and strong. Years passed. They grew, took different paths. One diving deep into acting, the other conquering the world of dance, racing, and music. But destiny has a strange sense of humor. It always finds a way to bring certain souls back together. Rumors began to swirl again. Whispers that they might reunite for a new project. Fans went wild at the thought. When the first teaser poster dropped, two silhouettes standing side by side beneath a crimson sky, the internet nearly broke. Even without confirmation, everyone knew. That energy, that magnetic presence, it could only be them. When they finally appeared on screen together again, the chemistry was undeniable. The years apart had only refined their connection. Every look, every movement carried depth. A story beneath the surface, written by time, loyalty, and a quiet kind of love that only the closest of souls understand. During interviews, they remained professional as always. But their eyes told the real story. When asked about working together again, Xiao Zhan smiled softly and said, "It feels like coming home." Yibo, with that familiar teasing glint, added, "He still talks too much." The room erupted in laughter, but fans could see it. The warmth behind the teasing, the trust behind the smirks. Beyond fame, beyond screens, their bond became something rare in the entertainment world, real. Not built for the camera, not scripted, but raw and enduring. They stood by each other in ways few ever saw, quietly offering support in moments when the other's world seemed ready to crumble. There was a story from one of the crew members during their later collaboration. A night shoot in freezing weather. Xiao Zhan had been standing under fake rain for hours, drenched and trembling. During a break, Yibo walked over, took off his own jacket, and threw it over Xiao Zhan's shoulders without a word. When Xiao Zhan tried to return it, Yibo just said, "Shut up and wear it." Moments like that, simple, unspoken, human, define the essence of their bond. The world often mistakes silence for distance. But with Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo, silence means understanding. It means they don't need to say much to know what the other feels. Their friendship has become a symbol, not just for fans, but for anyone who has ever had a person in their life who stays even when things fall apart. It's about loyalty, forgiveness, and the kind of respect that time cannot corrode. The story of Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. If anything, that was when the real story began. The part that wasn't scripted, wasn't filmed, and wasn't meant for public eyes. It was the kind of story that lived between glances, in quiet moments behind the scenes, and in the unwavering loyalty of two hearts that understood each other without needing words. After the Untamed wrapped, the world changed for both of them. Fame came like a thunderstorm, loud, blinding, and unstoppable. Suddenly their faces were everywhere. Billboards, TV screens, magazines, fan pages. Every smile, every handshake, every interview was analyzed, replayed, and magnified 1,000 times. But beneath all the lights and noise, Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo were still just two artists who had shared something real, a connection that didn't vanish when the director yelled, "Cut." One evening, after a particularly exhausting round of interviews, Xiao Zhan sat alone in the dressing room. The sound of cameras clicking still echoed faintly in his ears. He looked at his reflection, makeup half faded, eyes tired yet determined. The fame was thrilling, yes, but it came with a strange loneliness. Then a knock on the door. Before he could answer, the door swung open and Wang Yibo walked in, a can of soda in hand, a lazy grin on his face. "Still alive?" Yibo asked casually, tossing him the drink. "Barely," Xiao Zhan replied with a small laugh, catching it midair. There was a pause, a comfortable silence only old friends could share. The kind where words weren't needed because the energy between them said enough. "Let's get out of here," Yibo said suddenly. "Too many people pretending to be nice." So they did. They slipped out through a back door, caps pulled low, masks hiding their famous faces. They walked along the quiet riverbank. No paparazzi, no fans, no lights. Just two souls breathing freely for the first time in months. The night air was cold, their laughter echoing softly over the water. Xiao Zhan threw a pebble into the river, and Yibo followed suit. It was simple, peaceful, real. Moments like that reminded them of who they were before the fame. Just two dreamers with cameras pointed at them and a shared story that bound them forever. But life doesn't stay gentle forever. Months later, when rumors began to swirl, things got heavy. Misunderstandings, false headlines, endless speculation. The media loved to twist their friendship into something it wasn't. People talked, fans fought, and a wall of noise built itself between them. Yet, through it all, there was that quiet promise. No matter what, we don't let go. One night, after a particularly harsh online storm, Xiao Zhan received a message. It was late, past midnight, and he was alone in his apartment, scrolling through endless waves of comments. His phone vibrated. "Ignore them. They'll get tired. You're stronger than this." Yibo. That was all. No long speeches, no dramatic comfort. But it was enough to make Xiao Zhan smile through his tears. Because when the world turned its back, Wang Yibo was always there, like a silent anchor holding him steady. Weeks later, they met again on a commercial shoot. The energy was awkward at first, the air heavy with everything left unsaid. The crew noticed the tension but stayed quiet. Then, during a break, Yibo nudged Xiao Zhan's arm. "You still sing that song you used to hum on set?" Xiao Zhan looked at him, surprised, and chuckled. "You still remember that?" Yibo shrugged, smirking. "It was stuck in my head for weeks." And just like that, the tension broke. Laughter filled the air again, and the friendship they thought had been bruised came back stronger. When the shoot ended that night, the crew caught a moment. Xiao Zhan gently fixing Yibo's microphone, Yibo playfully swatting his hand away. It was small, ordinary. But to anyone who had watched them grow, it spoke volumes. It wasn't about grand gestures, it was about showing up. Every single time. Their paths soon diverged again. Different projects, different cities. But distance never weakened them. In interviews, they spoke kindly of each other, never overstating, never denying. Just respect, deep, steady, and enduring. There was a touching story that few knew. During one of Wang Yibo's races, Xiao Zhan had quietly attended. No press, no announcement, no entourage. He stood in the crowd, masked and hidden, heart pounding as he watched his friend speed across the track. When Yibo won, Xiao Zhan clapped like any proud friend would. No spotlight, no recognition, just genuine pride. And another. During Xiao Zhan's concert, Yibo sent a bouquet of white roses backstage. The note read, "You shine brighter every time. Keep going." No signature, but Xiao Zhan didn't need one. He smiled, placing the flowers near his dressing mirror. Years passed, and fame only grew. But so did the bond. Even when the world thought they had drifted apart, there were always subtle signs. A shared glance at an award show, a quiet acknowledgement on social media, or a knowing smile when one's name was mentioned in an interview. Because real friendship doesn't fade under pressure. It deepens. When they finally reunited again for a charity event, fans lost their minds. Cameras flashed endlessly, but all eyes were on that one moment, when Xiao Zhan turned and smiled, and Yibo returned it with that familiar half-smirk. It was brief but powerful, a moment that said everything words couldn't. After the event, in the quiet backstage corridor, they met again. No cameras, no microphones. Just them. "You still talk too much," Yibo teased. "And you still act like you don't care," Xiao Zhan shot back with a grin. They laughed. That same laughter that had started it all years ago. Time had changed them. They were older, wiser, busier. But the bond hadn't cracked. It hadn't even bent. If anything, it was stronger. Polished by years of trials, distance, and silence. Sometimes the world doesn't need to understand a friendship. Sometimes what's real can't be explained, only felt. And the bond between Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo is exactly that. Quiet but powerful, distant yet eternal. No matter how far apart their lives drift, the universe keeps finding ways to pull them back together. In small moments, in shared causes, in glances that remind the world that true connection never dies. Their story isn't just about fame or fandom. It's about loyalty, endurance, and the kind of brotherhood that defies the odds. Theirs is the proof that when two souls truly connect, nothing, not time, not rumors, not even the weight of fame, can break them apart. They are each other's quiet strength, each other's home in a world that changes too fast. The bond remains. The respect endures. The friendship, unbreakable. And that, dear viewers, is what makes the story of Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo more than just celebrity friendship. It's a legacy, a symbol of trust, loyalty, and love that doesn't need to be loud to be real. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of true friendship, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories about Xiao Zhan, Wang Yibo, and their unbreakable bond. Dizzy.